All right, welcome back on the conversation. Now to our main focus of today. We are looking at the topic, federal government age restriction for primary school leavers. The restriction has been pegged at 11 years. So if you're less than 11 years as a primary school learner, you are not allowed to sit for the National Common Entrance Examination that is coming through from the federal government quarters. But we'll look at all of these issues along with my guest here in the studio, already ready to do justice to this great topic. I'll start from my far left. I have an educationist par excellence, someone that I've known in the education sector for quite a number of years. I would say over maybe 3 decades or maybe even more. He has been in the education sector, raising children, raising the future leaders. He is Barrister Godwin Ojegba, the proprietor of Climax International Schools, Ugeli. And Barrister Godwin Ojegba is also a public affairs analyst and a legal practitioner. Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me, DJ.
All right, yeah, welcome, sir. So I also have someone joining the conversation for the very first time. Barrister Ojegba is a regular guest on occasions, but I have someone joining us for the very first time here on the conversation this afternoon. And he's a powerful person as well. Also an educator, someone that has passion for children and of course everything that has to do with raising future leaders. He is a kids, teens and parenting coach. He's also a human rights activist and a social commentator. His name is Comrade Ambassador Osai Darlington Ogaga. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, viewers and listeners. Thank you for having me here today.
Definitely, always my pleasure. So, Ambassador Darlington Ogaga, I know you are also the CEO of your group Value Reorientation Initiative. Yeah. Exactly. So, for you, it's not just about knowing something, but going out there to make sure that the next generation they get the right orientation coming through. Yeah. But I'll start off with Barrister Ojegba now. That I will always love to hear his thoughts. Federal government coming through with this information. When you heard the news first off that there is a ban over the weekend, that was when it was officially declared anyway by Adejo. So when you heard the plan by the federal government to officially prohibit children from certain age, to restrict them, what was your first thought? What greeted you?
Well, thank you very much. You know that Nigerians, as people would normally say, it's not that we lack plans. What we lack is implementation. For me, it's good. It's good news to all of us because we have lived with the idea of sometimes of people sending children as low as 9 years into secondary school. In other clients, we call them high school. Here, we call them secondary school and grammar school and all of it. That would not be good enough. So when government came to this realization that we're doing ourselves a great disservice, because first you must understand that education, formal education, even in the formal education, they are all about preparing one for life. And so such things shouldn't be toyed with. It came late, but it is better late than never. So it's good news.
So for you, it's good news.
Good news.
Okay, so I'll still throw the same question to you. At first glance, what were your thoughts?
Myself?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for having me add my voice to this conversation. To be very sincere with you, it's a kudos to the Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu administration. As a matter of fact, like he said during his campaign, that they will hit the ground running. We can see that for the first time in Nigerian history, a few things are going from the place of policy to action. There was actually a time a few years back where we ran a campaign, myself with some private school owner, because as you know, I do training for schools, I do mentorship for children. And then there was a time that the private school owners in Warri area, we did a campaign, bring back primary 6. It was becoming a serious problem, right? You see parents, as I was coming out, somebody even called me that they wanted me to cancel a parent. A school owner called me to cancel a parent that the child is too young, but the parent has jumped the child from primary 3 to primary 4. Now they want the child to write common entrance exam from primary 4, right? So it's important that the government put their foot on the ground, but we should also go a little step ahead, more than just making policies. The government should also encourage, we have the National Orientation Agency, to also appeal and speak to parents. It's not like the government is fighting the public, right? So there's need for another level. Apart from stopping it and banning it, there should be orientation. Parents need to know that as children learn, they need to psychologically grow to be able to absorb some level of learning. There's what they call age-appropriate teaching. When a child is not up to a particular age, when you try to, there are some children that are prodigies. They are very intelligent, right? Yeah. But you don't destroy a child because the child is intelligent. Okay, so there is what they call age-appropriate learning. Parents must learn that there's need for children to psychologically grow before they are exposed to some level of environment of learning. So to me, it's a very good step in the right direction.
Obviously, now my two guests here in the studio today would want to agree that this is positive news. So I'm sure you do not have any cons to the proposal by the federal government, or the decision rather by the federal government. But now let's look at how possible the implementation is going to be, Barrister Ojigba. This is where the issue is. As an experienced educator yourself, federal government coming through with this kind of good news, like you rightly put it, the implementation strategies, how would this even be effective or effected?
Okay, well, it is just that government may lack the will. If the government has the capacity, it has the capacity, but probably will not have the will. Let me tell you one thing. We took a child from Nigeria to Canada who was already in a school here in Nigeria. By the time he got to Canada, he couldn't get any school to enter because the child was less than 6 years. We had the same experience in England. The child couldn't get to school because he was not up to 6 years as at that time. Now, over the world, most of the countries start their children at 6. So you cannot get out of into the school without getting to a particular age. So all the government needs to do is to put in a monitoring team to ensure that any child coming into the school has the best certificate and check the admission register of each of these schools to ensure compliance. Then also do what my brother here has said, ensure that there is proper mobilization, proper orientation through the mass media or the National Orientation Agency to enable the parents know the implication. Because once that kind of the service is done to a child, you send the child to a school, even if the child is super intelligent, as my brother here has said, what is done in other clients is that the school and the Ministry of Education will have a board where the child goes through the processes. It's not that it's skipped. It's just that it goes through it at a shorter space.
Thank you.
So if we do that kind of thing, there'll be no problem. But the fact that you throw a child from primary 1 to 2, and from there you jump to primary 4, before you know it, the child is in secondary school, it's a great disservice to the children. Government must insist on putting parameters to enforce compliance, and the school should also ensure compliance, because these children are there for all of us. What the children that will turn out today will be our doctors, will be our lawyers, will be our pharmacists, and the effect will be on us.
Indeed. Now, for me, I want to talk about my own personal experience because I'm an educator myself.
Yes.
I've also been in the teaching field, if you put it that way. And for you, you actually mentioned that you've seen 9 years old in JS1 getting into secondary school.
Yes.
For me as an educator, the youngest I have had to teach as head of department at some point in my life was an 8-year-old girl in JS1 at the time. Yes, somewhere in the northern part of the country where I was a teacher. And for me, that pretty young girl at the time, I noticed the fact that she had this kind of defect from the other children, like she wasn't mature enough.
Yes, arrested development.
You know, the baby thing keeps coming through, and it's almost like everything we are giving to her was quite a lot for her to handle. So such that I had to, you know, personally, as head of department then, you know, guide and make sure that there is this bridging of the gap already there, particularly if there were already some kind of lacuna, yes, exactly there. So it's not even about 9 years. I think we even have 8 years or some very close to 8 years scenario of children getting into J1. So Ambassador Darlington, talking about how young, you know, these children, some of them even are when they get into schools. The parents need to know the implications of all of this. Let's look at the implications now. Let's spread it across board so that they actually hear firsthand what they are doing to their children, because no mother or father would actually, you know,
want to destroy
will actually get poison and say, my son, my daughter, drink it.
Thank you.
So let's actually lay the cards bare on the table, talking about implications. Ambassador Darlington.
Thank you very much. I also want to thank our elder man here that's also educating us on some faults. Something else I want to add to what he said before answering the question is there's an aspect to this that the government may not be looking at, which is the private schools, right? You are saying common entrance to federal government colleges. What about the private schools?
I was definitely coming to that anyway, so yeah.
So when we get there, I'll talk about. But now talking about the implication, first, let's talk about why do parents do this? Because one of the things we do in counseling and understanding issues is, where is it coming from? Most time, parents do this because maybe they have their children late in life, right? Maybe they didn't have their children early. That's what parents tell me most times, that this is my son that I had in old age. My child should graduate fast. I must see my child get married and all of that. But what parents should understand is that when you when you force a child to grow up earlier than the time, you cause a child to go into what is called an arrested development. In psychology, it's called fixation. The child becomes fixated. The child is not able to relate with a particular level. There is a reason, if you look at the history of education, there is a reason why examination was introduced by the founding fathers of education, Plato, that when you get to a particular age, this level of test will come to you. So the purpose of education, like our senior man said in the house, is to prepare the child for life. So as a parent, if you force your child to grow up too early, you have done a disservice to that child. Your child become maladjusted. The child cannot relate properly because the child, like you said, that immaturity will always play out. The child will be easily deceived. It will be easy for the child to be influenced.
Basically.
The child will be open and susceptible to any form of trend that is moving along the street. People can just, there are some young men. I used to have some young men in those days that would say they go to the university to look for freshers, young girls that just came in, that are young, underage young girls that are not used to the environment of being independent. Because one thing about the psychology of growth is that independence is a dangerous tool to a child that is not properly taught how to manage it. So you need a child to go through. There are three phases. You have the phase of dependence when the child is born. You have the phase of independence, that's preteens and teenage. And then you have the stage of codependence. If you don't teach your child to transit properly into the stage of codependence, as soon as the child enters university, the child wants to be totally independent of the parent. That's when you now see some rebellious behavior. My mom does not let me wear trousers. Now I want to wear trousers. They don't let me go for party. A girl, they just reported now that a girl just ran away from the house because the parents does not allow her go out. A child once told me, I will fail that entrance exam because I want to punish my mother. You can imagine that a child is saying that she will fail an exam because she wants to punish the mother. A child that is well developed will not think like that. So it's important for parents to understand that when you force your children to grow up too early, you stop their growth, you stunt their growth unknowingly. It's not love to push them. You are pushing them into a world they are not prepared for. It's dangerous.
Okay, so Barrister Ojegba, now we'll still look at the implications that were yet to clearly bear on the table, but let's talk about the whys, like he rightly said. Indeed, he has mentioned some of the reasons. The maybe the old age factor. I put to birth at an old age, and I just want my child to be to grow fast before I die and all of that. Now, other than that, what other reasons do you think there are for parents?
Other than that, some parents believe that they want to skip payment of school fees.
Beautiful.
At the private school.
I agree. Yes, wow. I've seen parents give me that reason.
They want to ensure that they will keep paying the fees, and so they can put that to something else.
Yes,
but beyond that,
it's ridiculous.
They also do what if you like, call it comparison.
Okay.
I went to see my friend. The child is in social class. My child should also be in social class.
For me, this is the worst.
Wow.
They do other kind of all manner of things. Now, what we then find is that there are even situations where you find out that this child is growing too fast.
Late early bloomers.
Because of that one, it shouldn't be in primary one. Let the child now basic.
Okay.
Let the child be in basic two.
Okay.
It didn't matter whether the child understands the rudiments of the education, the letters, the alphabets, and all that. That one is immaterial. So what material to them? What material advantage can they get? Because what they do is for their own benefit, not for the child's benefit.
No.
The net result is that at the end of the day, the child is properly destroyed. Destroyed.
So we can say poverty is one driving factor.
One driving factor. Then undue imitation.
Wow.
Trying to compare your child with other persons, that you want to do imitation, you want to be able to see that this child is going to be like this at social time. I tell you, I had a case where a child that was very, very good at social well. He came from KG1, he went to KG3, he went to primary 1, he left from primary 4, and then by the time he got to university, the child who ought to have studied medicine was not doing agri-science and couldn't cope. Now she is a hairstylist. So that is the kind of thing that the parents did to that child. Got the child destroyed, completely destroyed. So we are using this opportunity and this medium to be able to tell parents it does not serve any purpose. It does not confer on you any material advantage to fast track your child through the school process.
So justifiably, some children, we can call them, well, I say A-list children that are doing very good academically. And for that reason, the children, that's also one reason why the parents might say they are, they are being taught below their level.
It does not lie in them to do so.
Okay.
It lies only in the school. The school will determine and decide, okay, Comrade Osai, your child appears to be doing very well. Let us talk on how we can fast track this child. They also get the ministry involved. Because there's what you call mental age, there's what you call chronological age. It refers to that in psychology.
Yes, yes.
Now, when you look
Yes.
at these children for reason, there is a time for everything. Is that what the classic is saying? So you will call him and then we'll discuss, we'll look at his the antecedent, how far the child is going, but to ensure that he goes through the process at a shorter time and not skipping at all.
Classes.
Once you skip, it has implication. No matter what advantage you take, you will get now. It will not last.
All right, now let's go back to you said something about the campaign you did front alongside
Bring
some
Back
other
Primary
persons
Six.
about Bring
I
Back
remember
Primary
that
Six.
time at Data Cadet College.
Yes, yes.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Now let's talk about
Yeah.
that campaign.
Yes.
Obviously, as we can look at the education sector, basic level, what we have now is the private schools that are doing better than the public schools without any form of argument
Yes.
when it comes to the primary and kindergarten level
Yes.
in the country at the moment. Now let's look at the fact that we have so many private schools accessible to these parents.
Yes.
And most of these private schools these days do not even have the basic 6 class, already encouraging the skipping of classes.
Yes,
So how do we
institutionalizing it
manage all of that?
Yes, that's where the buy-in come in. You know, it's important for this government to understand that government and governance has gone beyond the way of churning down policies and putting it on the throat of people just like that. No, you need the buy-in. The government need to negotiate. It's important that we have independent bodies that are for private school owners. You have substance for private female school owners. The government needs to bring out all the food to send out people there to get the buy-in of people we have educational stakeholders. It's important that you get all of these people bought into the idea. That is the reason why it's beyond making policies. You've got to speak to parents too. Thank God for programs like this. God bless Quest FM for things like this to educate parents too. It's important that the government move from just announcing policy to buy in. Look for ways to see that the people that are going to be affected by this thing I've said, they are bought in. Otherwise, it will just be to the poor that send their children to public schools or those that want to send their children to federal government college. Indeed. The private schools will just go on with what they should be doing. So one of the easiest way to get the policy to work is to get the buy-in of educational stakeholders. That's what I suggest.
Okay, so now let's drive back to the implications. We're still talking about all of that for the children. Personally, I would also at this point recount my own experience growing up. I think I'm not necessarily one of the Gen Zs. I'm somewhere caught between the Gen Zs and the, how do you call them now? So for me, in my own time, that was where the old skipping of primary 6, the trend started. And I want to say the idea of a child is doing fairly well or well at school, and then the comparison with so person's daughter or son is already in this class. So by this time, he should be there. I think it happened to me because I actually also skipped primary 6 at my own time. But luckily for me, I don't know where I got the wisdom from at that age. I was expected to write JS3 exam. I was supposed to skip as well. The plan was for them to move me from J2 to SS1 and from SS2 to university. But that was the plan. That was it was the
plan.
You have to
skip 3 classes.
My family can actually hear this conversation today, So when I skipped for P6, it affected me mathematically now. So when I got into secondary school, somehow I was wiser for it. And I would say I was lucky to have some very wise friends at that age. We were talking about all of it. And then my parents already told me, once they announced enrollment for JS3, tell us. I knew they announced it on the assembly severally. I refused to tell them. When it expired, they finally got wind of it. And of course, it was a hell of a lot of trouble for me. But I ended up not skipping. And that was how I managed to do my 6 years completely in secondary school.
And you're better.
And I'm better for it today.
I keep
saying it that I am so happy that I never got to skip those classes. Maybe it would have been worse off. Now, for some parents, that it's all as a result of pressure. Maybe one partner in the marriage, in this case, because we have to balance it as a couple. We have a husband, we have a wife. There's one partner who says, this is the right way to go. And the other partner insists that I know better. The child has to go through all of this. So how do we manage that kind of domestic crisis in trying to make sure that these children are not harmed in the process?
Okay. Let me say without apology that the men are timid. I'm not excluding anybody, including myself. We allow our wives to dictate the education of our children. When they take them to school, the one you call school runs, and they go to drop them in school, and they see their friends, they do all of these discussions. The desire to skip a class is usually initiated by the mothers, and the men do not oftentimes are unable to put their foot on the ground. Most times they are unable to. And so that's what happened. If the men were able to, recall that I also have a private school. If it were fine that the children could pay, of course I would have allowed my children to skip. None. I can say none of my 5, 6 children skipped a class.
Wow.
I'm aware I did teach some of them myself.
And today we are grateful to God for what they have turned out to be.
You see.
So I want the children to be good, all children, no matter what, because they will service us at one point or the other.
Yes.
Somebody, you meet them either in the hospital, in the banks, in the courts, in the pharmacy, anywhere. And so if you allow the children to go through this rough ride by what the parents are doing, out of ignorance, out of not understanding the implications of what they are doing, it will be wrong. And so we use this opportunity to tell them, please, it does not serve any useful purpose. It does not serve any good to allow your child to skip a class. In any case, where are we hurrying to? If a child of 9 years is in year 1, what that means effectively is that by 15 years, is leaving the secondary school. So if he leaves the high school at 15, he wants to get into the university. So recall that when you went into the university, in front of the gate of the university, first day, it read, the university welcomes fresh men and fresh women. I'm not sure that under our laws, 16 or 15-year-old people are men. They are still children.
It should be 18 and above.
18 and above.
So,
Thank you very much.
Ambassador Osai,
Yes.
let's look at the private school owners now, where we have the bulk of the children at the primary level. This policy by the federal government, how are we going to get the private school? Like you said, there needs to be like a buy-in into all of this. But the private school owners, like we would all agree, I have one here on set, they are profit-driven.
Yes.
So how do we really orient the private school owners
We
to?
cannot sacrifice the comfort of the children in the matter of profit.
For profit, yeah.
Okay, so I need you to talk about this. Okay.
That's an understanding that
Beautiful.
we have to drive home.
Beautiful.
Okay? It's important to, like you said, private schools most time, they're under pressure. The challenges with private schools is the pressure to meet up with profit margin, right? So you see a child, a parent will tell you, it's actually not even on the private school people to decide. The main people on this issue of this policy of skipping classes is the parent. Because a parent will tell you that if the school refuses, I will take my child from this school to another school. This is important. So the people we should be talking to are the parents. In fact, a parent told me the other day that the reason why their child must skip school is that she didn't skip classes, and by the time she graduated, she had already outgrown the age to work in a bank. So the major problem with parents, you are the ones I'm talking to. Thank God for the wide coverage of this station that we are in. Parents, listen to me. You have unrealistic expectation. What you are thinking in your mind is not real out there. Who told you that when your child graduates, she will work in a bank? In the next 10 years, there is evolution. Today, the richest people in the world today, I did a research and I discovered that the 4 people were mentioned. 4 of them, they own a collective income that is equivalent to the capital of a whole of Africa. Okay. 4 people. Talking about Mark Zuckerberg, that's Facebook. Okay. Talking about what do you call it? People that produce iPhone, Apple, Google, and the man that has Twitter. 4 people.
All of them in telecommunications.
Having the collective budget of Africa. They are not working in Shell, Chevron, or any bank. So it's important that parents understand that train your child properly. Allow your child develop properly. The society where they will function is not the society where you function in. So don't undo your child by saying you want them to graduate quick so that they'll go and apply and work in a bank or work in one oil company. At the end of the day, what you do to your child, the implication is number 1, your child become maladjusted. It means that your child is not trained to adjust to these changes. Education is not about solving maths and passing. Education is about development.
Total development.
It's total development of a child. Like what they teach in school, they teach children puberty in school. But in life, as they go through the process, they learn maturity. So if your child is not properly matured to take some level of shock, to take some level of resistance, there's a level of development your child should get up to. By the time your child is being influenced, the child can say no. I will not join that court. I will not be a part of that. I was homeless at 17, living in NRA, but because it was 17 years, if it was younger, I'm sure I would have done a lot of things. But because I was already at 17, living in NRA Junction, living in a hotel, was the manager of the hotel, but I never joined a cult. It was very difficult for me to join a cult because at that level, psychologists believe that at age 8, the child is crystallized. Then from 8 to your teenage years, the crystallization becomes formed. By the time you are 18, you are already an adult. So parents parents must understand that when you stop a child, let me tell you the truth about fixation. What a child is supposed to do at age 6, if you stop the child from doing it, when the child gets to age 8, the child will hunger for it. That's when you have midlife crisis. The child it will come back. That's why I tell my wife at home, allow this boy run around, because he can't run around with the sand. Create space for him. He must, this energy that he has, he must exert them. Don't box him. Don't tell him to sit down in one place. He's a child. At that age, the child should be running around. He should be burning energy, especially when they take sugar. Sugar rush must happen. So parents must understand that you must. The word parenting is grooming. You are meant to create an environment where your child can blossom. When you put your child in an environment where they can blossom, your child will give you the greatest result in the future. But if you try to truncate that blossoming by pushing your child, push, it may work for parent A, but it may not work for you.
Indeed.
So parents must understand that the implication is you get your child fixated at a particular age. That's one implication.
All right, our beautiful viewers and listeners out there this afternoon, you can be part of the conversation by dialing in on 0818 888 8931, 0802 2931 931. The phone lines are now open. We'll be taking questions from you, our viewers and listeners, for my guests here in the studio, and any other contribution you want to have on the topic we're discussing today. 0818 888 8931, 0802 2931 931. Hello, good afternoon. Do I have my first caller? All right, while the phone lines are still buzzing, 0802 2931 931. I'll come back to my guest, Barrister Ojigba, here in the studio. Now, let's separate the two examinations that primary school leavers have to sit for at the state level and at the national level, because some parents, I don't think they have a clear picture of it. So I don't know if you can actually differentiate between these two examinations. Is it the first school leaving certificate that it gets to pick when they sit for the state examination, and of course the common entrance examination? What's the disparity between both?
Okay. Let me say for clarity,
okay,
that there's no more primary 6 exam throughout this country.
Can you imagine?
That the only states that do that are doing so for whatever reasons I will not be able to show on television. But they say that they are doing placement exams. The new curriculum is 934. 9 years, basic 1, basic 2, basic 3, basic 4, up to basic 9. So it's just a transition. It's smooth movement from primary 1 to primary 9, or if you like, call it basic 1 to basic 9. But in any case, in those states when they write primary 6 exams, the first one conducted by the Ministry of Education at the end of the 6 years program is called primary 6. It certifies them that they have completed this level of education. But if they were following what the federal government says we should do of the basic, they didn't need to write any exam at that level.
Wow.
Now the second one is after having 3 years in the upper basic 7,
which is junior secondary,
basic 7, basic 8, basic 9. At that level, you were expected to learn several vocations: carpentry, agriculture, welding, all of it, foundry. We're supposed to be learned at that level. So depending on your area of competence, you either go straight into the secondary school, which is the senior secondary school, which is the one you call SS1,
okay, or
you go into technical colleges where you continue with this vocational program. So the first 6 years in this state, for instance, you have a certificate called primary 6 certificate. Then thereafter, when you go into the secondary school, you now have what you call junior school certificate. By government,
which is what they are writing at the moment.
Which is what they are writing now at the moment. It will get finished by Friday or so. Yeah. Then at the end of the exams, now by September, when the results are out, children will now go into secondary school. They call it SS1, not a SSS, no. Senior secondary 1, not,
Senior secondary
school. The way we used to have it, SSS.
Senior secondary school 1.
It's senior secondary 1.
Okay.
Senior secondary 2. At the end of the day, you now write WAEC examination. After that, you can then write JAM to go into the university. But to relate it to what we have been discussing, I'm assuming that a child came into secondary school at age 9. It means that by age 15, will be finished secondary school. His own maturity at that particular point in time is not enough to do this exam.
That is why the 11 years is recommended.
It's recommended.
Let's get our callers come through.
No, let's just add this one.
Okay.
If you tell a child of primary 1, 2 times 2, 4, 2 times 5, 10. If you tell the same child, what is 5 times 2? He will not be able to tell
because
you
you
the
just
answer.
invited.
Because you invited. Do you know they are the same thing?
The same
This is the maturity that we have talked about here.
All right, 0802-2931-931. Hello, good afternoon. Do I have a call on the line? 0802-2931-931. Hello, good afternoon. Okay, I did my producer did signal me that I had some callers on standby. I don't know if you can have that connected.
Okay.
Yes. Hello, good afternoon. Okay, when your call does come through, please endeavor to talk to me so that we can actually hear you. Do not go mute on us because other persons are on standby as well, trying to get connected on the line. 0802-2931-931. Hello, good afternoon. Okay, can we get that connection again? Okay, unfortunately, no. I think they're battling with the phone lines right there, but you can keep trying. Remember, you can also be part of the conversation on all of our social media platforms at Quest Live Online. You can drop all of your comments on our social media platforms. After the program, this clip will be up on YouTube. You can be part of the conversation, engage the topic, drop your comments and all of that. And let's see how we can keep pushing the narrative. 0802-2931-931. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, your name and location.
This Elder Udo calling from.
Right, go ahead, Elder.
Yes, I want to comment on the invigilators because this topic is so good that I've been upgrading that for me. But are we not grading all these things for people to give money? That is, will the implementation work well? Because it's very good policy for the new coming government. Let implementation work well so that the treatment will not be going to pro the principle of whatsoever will be charged at the return back to where we are. Thank you. That's my say this afternoon.
All right, thank you very much for your contribution. Let's get more contributions on 0802-2931-931. Hello, good afternoon. 0802-2931-931. The phone numbers are still buzzing. Let's get your take on the topic. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, your name and location.
I am Ajiri calling from Uzoro.
From Uzoro. Okay, Ajiri, go ahead.
I want to thank our guests in the house. They have really said, they have done justice to the issue. Hello?
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you loud and clear.
What I want to say is that, hello?
Go ahead, Ajiri.
Okay. What I want to say is that our guests in the house have said the truth. Even the federal government have done very well because when I was in school in those days, I have some young children in my class, SS1. They were just 10 years. And when it was time for examination, they won't be able to write anything because they know not, in fact, they don't know what to write. So I really thank the federal government for what the new law they have rejected. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Ajiri from Ozora. Let's get one final call come through this afternoon on the program. A final caller. Who is that going to be? 0802-2931-931. We have time for just one final call this afternoon, even as we wrap things up on the conversation. Hello, good afternoon. 0802-2931-931. Hello, good afternoon. All right, in lieu of that, I want to get back your final thoughts from my guests here in the studio who have exhaustively really talked about all of these issues on ground when it comes to the federal government ban on children writing P6 common entrance examinations. Now, obviously, Barrister Jigba, if you can add these to your final thoughts for us, even as I let you go this afternoon, how will we be able to marry? Because this ban is going to be affecting only those who aspire to attend unity colleges, federal government colleges across the country. So this ban is not necessarily going to be affecting those who just want to continue a regular private school around. So in trying to marry this, and of course your final thoughts on the topic, even as I let you go this afternoon.
Thank you. You see, there is a way that, okay, let me not be below, but in law there's what you call doctrine of covering the field. Once there is a statement made at the federal level, it trickles down the ladder up to the smallest one. Now, we expect that if the federal government is saying, look, in order for you to get into any of the federal government colleges, Queen's College or King's College, you must be at least 11 years. What that means is that mutatus mutandis, that should translate into the state.
Even the private, yes.
Even the private schools.
Yes,
and I
totally.
said that government must ensure that they put in a monitoring team to monitor the schools to ensure that these children reach a certain age before they enter into a school. In any case, where are we hurrying to? Let parents be educated. In fact, we have told them, and I'm sure they have listened. Let them begin to implement that beginning from next session, beginning in September. Ensure that your child is at least 6 years before he or she gets into the primary school. That way, we will reap the benefit of parenting.
Okay, Ambassador Osai Ogaga, final words from you if I let you go this afternoon.
Thank you very much. I have a final word for two sets of people today.
Okay.
One, the government, and secondly, the parents. To the government, one of the things we say in the parlance of consultancy and management training is that in business, you don't get what you say. No matter what you write as your company policy or core value, you don't get what you say, but what you supervise. Like our elder man here just said, it is what you supervise that will get implemented. Unless it is supervised, you don't get implementation. Then to the parents, it's important for you to know, like we have also said so repeatedly here, your children, they are your report card. They are those that will tell whether you are a good parent tomorrow in the society. If you fail at parenting, you would have failed yourself and failed the society. So please, let's not fail our children. Let's allow them grow and develop well.
All right, many thanks to my guests, awesome guests, I must say, who have done justice to the topic, federal government restriction on children from writing National Common Entrance Examinations, to my far left barrister, Gordon Ojigba, who is a legal practitioner and also an educator for excellence, the director, proprietor, Climax International School, Ugeli. Thank you for coming today, sir.
Thank you very much.
And of course, Comrade Ambassador. I also add Deacon at this point because he's a Deacon himself. Comrade Ambassador Osai Ogaga Darlington, who made his way down here to the studio today, is also the CEO, Value Reorientation Initiative. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And of course, from me, your host of the program today, I want to again encourage our parents to walk the talk, go the long route. It's long, I know, but please walk the route. No matter how long you think it is, it's going to get to an official end that you will be proud of. I remain Sonia Okodiro. Stay with us on the conversation. Same time, same station next week. Bye for now.